WHO report says that there are 1.8 billion children who breathe polluted air, which puts their health and development at serious risk. That's got everyone's attention and eyes. But it's not the first time these risks have been highlighted. There's a Journal of Indian Pediatrics which says that there's powerful evidence children growing up in polluted environment of Delhi have reduced lung growth compared to the children in developed countries such as US. They all start out at the same level, but by the time they're about 8, they probably have the same lung capacities. When they're adults, though, there's about a 10% difference between how the lungs of children in Caucasian countries grow to what happens in India. That is what you were saying, Dr. Gupta, that there is a clear and present evidence that air pollution can cause serious damage. My question is, there doesn't seem to be any political will. There are some, they have to make political noises because they're in the capital, but nationally, having 14 most polluted cities, it's not a conversation politicians are having, or it's the top of their mind. So what is it that people can do?
I always scared, coming to this program, I always feel that we have spent 2 hours, 3 hours, but after 20 minutes of this program, people will forget. We Indians have a very short memory like Ghazni. We just flip the page and now new report will come and we'll forget. This is usually happening. Correct. And the major, can say incidences we forget. And so my always feeling is that think of yourself, your family, because we are selfish in nature as a human being. We always think of our party, our community, our society, and my home. Okay, so let's start from our home also. So at least we can look at the kitchen, from where the females start exposing and from where you seed in the negative aspect of pollution, and from a new generation is already handicapped after birth. Fine.
Right.
So if you target the female, you get a good, at least a ventilated
indoor
kitchen.
Air is have ventilated
target
kitchens.
at indoor one. Okay.
Most basic thing.
Many females, say around 15, 16 years, they are exposed to kitchen before marriage. Fine. And they'll end up in some problem with the fertility, and that is very well mentioned in this task force. Fine.
Right.
Now, following that, once we give them a good kitchen, good ventilated kitchen, if you use good power, that is electrical or your LPG rather than wood or you can say cow dung, so at least we can start with.
Okay.
Secondly, clean your house. That can reduce the amount of PM 2.5 in the house itself. So these two things are the major, you can say, polluters in house.
Which should be immediately done. Okay, let me get Dr. Mohan's inputs as well. What should people do now? I mean, one is that, look, be very careful of your indoor home pollutants. Yeah. And kitchens are one of the biggest sources which expose the women of the homes, young girls of the homes, which will cause them long-lasting effects, including infertility.
Apart from this, this of course is the most important, to take care of the pollution in the own home. Then maybe in the immediate vicinity, for example, wherever you are staying, stop throwing the garbage, stop burning the garbage, stop burning the leaves, prevent anybody else doing it. So that is one. You raise a voice if somebody else does it. Stop those. These little things may also matter, and then you go on to the larger community level. Then it comes to the construction. Whenever the rampant construction across the city, you all know, what are the precautions for the workers?
RWS can take it up on themselves.
Yes.
I mean, I go around in my colony pointing out and calling up the secretary and saying, can you tell this builder to spray some water on the cement? So then, you basically take more responsibility of what is happening.
So the precautions during the construction, what about the workers who are working? They include women and children. So they are also exposed.
Little children.
They are just standing there. They are just playing there and they are exposed. So precautions for them, appropriate regulations. So these
What about our sweepers and cleaners? Sunil Daya, look at them. Our traffic policemen. I mean, we are talking about our children, but these are the people who are the most exposed. They're standing for hours in this pollution. And they're sweeping. Most of them today, I don't think Delhi MCD has even made it mandatory for them or given them good quality masks to sweep with. So we are saying, clean it for us, but you know what? Your life doesn't matter. I mean, newspapers can all die with air pollution and lung cancer.
And that's exactly the issue, that we don't tackle the exposure of people at the sources where pollution have been made. And we have talked about waste and people in the households and all those things. But what I would also like to point you towards that there are actions which people can take and there are actions which the governments have to take. Talk about the Central Electricity Authority saying that no coal-based power plants is required to start construction from now onwards. But even then, our Ministry of Environment and Forest giving clearances. And let me tell you that we have shut down Badarpur, which was around 300 megawatt right now.
Correct.
But we are going to come up, there is a proposal that 1300 megawatt power plant, 70 kilometer or 80 kilometer aerial distance from Delhi, comes up in Khurja. And are we serious about reducing air pollution levels in Delhi, NCR or elsewhere?
I mean, the air can't be stopped at Khurja. It will come into Delhi.
And that's the issue, that until unless we tackle these big industries, the stubble burning, firecrackers, mobility and everything needs to change. But we shouldn't hide the big polluters, point sources of pollution.
That I think the government's the smartest in hiding. Because, you know, they make money off industries and in the name of development, that just goes in.
And that will only change when people will start rising up for their right to life and right to breathe. And that momentum has to start.
And it hasn't come in because, you know, look at the ads which are coming out in the newspapers. Polash, the government is patting its back before the elections on everything. Why are you not spending money on just making people aware of the ill effects of air pollution? And what are the steps? I want to see the steps. One ad which says, these are the steps we have taken to reduce air pollution. Have you seen an ad like that?
No.
Other than an ad from the Health Ministry saying, please don't go out and do outdoor activities between 1st and 15th November.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was trying to say. That now is the time to ask tough questions of the people who are in charge. And I don't mean that Prime Minister and the Minister only. Ask your MCD councillor. Ask your local MLA. Firstly, find out who they are. Ask them tough questions. In 2019, pollution must be on the political agenda.
Yep.
It must be.
Why shouldn't it be on the election manifesto of all political parties on what they are going to do about air pollution? I think...
I feel one point I want to... I fail to understand maximum foreign visits has been taken place in past 7-8 years. Fine, by the big political people. When they go out to say any place, they find how the construction is being taken place, how they have developed the cities. Whole city is covered with the grass. There is no single, dust there. Can't we try to replicate that? Can't they feel shame when they come back? Means if something like
they obviously are not feeling the shame.
Instead of spending so many 1,000 crore rupees, you just spend few thousand crore rupees, cover your cities with the grass. At least you can save 10% of the pollution. You do not allow any building to be made without covering it adequately. They pass by something giving some money.
I think government itself is the biggest flouter of environmental norms. I mean, we know that, and we are not talking about central government here. At state level bodies, everybody who's constructing, in fact, they slip by the rules even easier than what the private sector does.
They go and advocate for the polluters to extend the deadlines for pollution reduction. Thermal power plant emission standard notification in 2015. They had to do it in 2 years.
And then
they went to Supreme Court, got them 5 more years.
Last year we were fighting this case against the auto industry, and the auto industry's affidavit and the MOEF's affidavit read the same. They were perhaps created by the same person.
My goodness. All right. We're going to leave it at that. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. I'm just going to, basically say that just raise your voice against air pollution. But to raise that morally, you've got to do your bit as well, don't you? I mean, carpool. Look at the number of cars which go to the same destination. It takes a little bit extra effort, but all of us can carpool a lot more than we are doing right now. We can clearly use public transport. In a city like Delhi, there is a metro. At least in lean phases, metros can be taken. Stop the usage of diesel cars. Private homes should not be having diesel cars. That's the bottom line. As a policy, government should be banning all private households to have diesel cars or run diesel cars. Segregate waste. Remember the fire pits in Gazipur and the other, waste dump that we recently saw. It's crazy. You don't segregate waste. It creates methane and the worst kind of toxic gases come out of that pile. stop using stop single-use plastic. I mean, that is a basic thing that we can do. You and I have to do it. And report trash and leaves burning. I mean, how hard is it? Morally, if we are going to ask our policymakers, our politicians to take air pollution as a national emergency and a national agenda, we've got to do our bit. Otherwise, you know what's going to happen? It's always going to be somebody else's problem, and we are going to be staying in extremely polluted cities with air pollution and a health crisis. Thank you so much for joining me.